Welcome to the 76 Capital Sports Leadership Series. Really excited. Today we have a really special guest. And again, my name is Wayne Kimmel, the host of the 76 Capital Leadership Series. Our producer, as usual, is and Chief of Staff at 76 Capital is James Santor. There he is right there. And you can follow James at James Santor 76 on Twitter. He's a great follow and big Philly fan. So if you're a Philly sports fan, he's a good person to follow and really knows everything that's going on in the sports industry. But today on our 76 Capital Leadership Series, we have a great guest. We have Hockey Hall of Famer Angela Ruggiero. She is also the CEO and co-founder of the Sports Innovation Lab. We're going to hear about her incredible career playing hockey and being an Olympian, gold medal winner, Hall of Famer, as well as now a true sports business person and all the amazing things that she's doing now in the sports industry. You can follow Angela at Angela Ruggiero on Twitter, and another person I highly recommend you following. So, on our 76 Capital Sports Leadership Series, we're all about looking to reach out to all of you, all the entrepreneurs, the athletes, the executives, anyone who's really interested in the overall sports industry. We want to talk with you. So you can reach out to us on any of our social networks, whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Subscribe to our channel, see all of our shows, subscribe to our podcasts as well. Super excited about the fact that we're now on whether it's Spotify, Apple, or any of your favorite podcast networks. We're all about that. And at 76 Capital, we're all about reaching out to you. We want to meet the entrepreneurs who are doing the next thing, whether that's in sports tech, esports, sports betting. We want to talk to you, want to meet you, want to, and potentially invest with and in your companies to find the next great company that's out there. That's what we're all about at 76 Capital. And if you're one of those passionate, smart, nice entrepreneurs that wants to do something big in sports, let's get in touch. So let's get going here on our 76 Capital Leadership Series. We have a super guest today. Once again, it's Hockey Hall of Famer and CEO of the Sports Innovation Lab, Angela Ruggiero. Angela, welcome to the show.
Wayne, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you for being here. And, I'm so excited to have you on the show. I mean, you're a new mom now. I'm so excited to hear that. I mean, you got 2 little boys now. I think it's incredible. As you said earlier, you're hoping they're hockey players, right?
Well, obviously, come on. I want them to follow in the footsteps and wear a gold medal. But no, just have fun, enjoy sports. That's it.
And get a couple gold medals, right?
That'd be the cherry on the top, as they say. But just play sports. Just be out there, be active, get all those great leadership skills and life skills from sports. So no pressure.
No, it's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Angela, one of the things that we do on our 76 Capital Leadership Series is really just what you were just talking about, really going back to your childhood, what drove you, were there certain mentors or leaders in your life that kind of helped you get to where you are today? And, we could just, really start at the beginning of, where did you grow up? And did you grow up in a sports household? I know some of the answers to these questions, but I'd love to know, and share with all of our listeners and viewers, your story.
Yeah, I grew up in Southern California in the 80s. There was not a lot of women's hockey. So my dad actually signed up my brother when he was 6. And then they said, do you have any other kids? We're desperate for bodies because this is California in the 80s. There's no hockey. And he said, I got a couple girls at home. And so the joke is, they offered a family discount, 3 for the price of 2. I was 7, my sister was 8. And then the 3 of us actually all played on the same youth hockey team in Southern California for a couple of years. My sister stopped playing 2 years in, and then it was just my brother and I became the only girl in the state actually for my age. So I just played boys hockey, but yeah, nice backdrop. I miss having my hockey bag over my shoulder, a pair of sandals, walking into a cold rink. It was like the best feeling ever. Now living on the East Coast, it's just cold all the time. I don't like the cold, even though I'm a hockey player. I like the sun.
So that's pretty amazing that the three of you playing hockey, and and as you grew up, playing, and your brother is actually, so your brother's younger than you,
Yeah,
right?
he's a year younger. But we, grew up. He was the goalie growing up. He was always in net. I protected him. I was defense person, as they say. And yeah, a few years later, fast forward, we actually became the first brother sister duo to play pro hockey. There you go. I got the Tulsa Oilers shot there. And then I became the only woman to play in a position other than a goalie in a professional men's hockey game. So the first woman to do that. So that was so fun, just to hit him on the pads, just like old times, and make my mark individually, but do it with my brother was just amazing.
That's incredible. Are there some stories with you and your brother? Your brother ended up playing in the NHL, which is pretty amazing, and and in his career, and certainly.
Oh yeah. That's him actually with the Florida Panthers. They lost. They were brilliant. They lost their third string goalie, their first or second, their third. They didn't have a goalie in the stands, and the fans were upset. This is maybe like 2014, before they had this third goalie policy, and he tried out essentially. He played in the minor pros, got a cup of coffee, as he said, in the NHL. And this actually, they signed him into a real contract, as sort of the backup in case this ever happened again. So that was fun to watch.
That's very cool. Very cool. And, are there any stories where, when you were younger, the two of you playing together where, maybe like I hear stories of kind of like Reggie Miller and Cheryl Miller, the two of them going to a court and, taking people on. Were there situations where it was your brother, the goalie, you, the defense person, and you're like, we'll take, any other three and you can come with us, and or four, I would say, I guess it would be, right?
No, I don't think we were rigging games, but the one thing that was great, again, see, we're hugging each other. I love that picture. Bill was always my best advocate. And, obviously in youth hockey, we won a state championship together. We were, tied to the hip, so to speak, in the car and on the ice and at home. But as I got older, I loved pushing myself and I wanted to play with the guys. And he always advocated for me in the locker room. Hey, my sister's wants to come out and skate. Your sister, no, she's pretty good. And he'd get me out on the ice, and then I had phenomenal guys to train with and skate with, and and I did the same. We were just always each other's best advocate. So we never had sibling rivalry. It was more of how do we help one another, and I'll never forget that. Again, like, he was my best friend growing up. So having that, getting to do that with him in Tulsa was always, I guess it's just the best feeling in the world.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We're here with Angela Ruggiero, the CEO of the Sports Innovation Lab, Hockey Hall of Famer, and just so excited to have you on our leadership series. And Angela, so after growing up in Southern California, or in Northern California, actually, did you, what was it like, you went to Harvard to play there and go to school and play there? How are those experiences?
Yeah, it was great. I actually got recruited to go to prep school when I was 14 to Choate Rosemary Hall in Connecticut. So that was my first taste of East Coast life. Yep, there you go. I think that was the infirmary, and then it was the admissions. Went to Choate, then made my way to Harvard after that. And the fact that I got to do hockey and academics, I'm such a huge advocate for student athletes. I think too many athletes get their degree, but they didn't learn anything. They didn't get the exposure. And I feel so blessed that I got to get an amazing education, in part because I played hockey. There's no doubt that helped me in the admissions process, but actually get a great degree and broaden my horizons and think outside of the box, think outside of the hockey box, so to speak. And loved playing at Harvard. We won a national championship my freshman year. Hopefully I'm put the puck in. That wasn't a block. I'm not sure. Won a national championship my freshman year, and played in the NCAA tournament finals 2 times as well. That's the Bean Pot. The people love the Bean Pot in Boston. That's like all 4 Boston teams: BC, BU, Northeastern and Harvard. Just loved Harvard, loved the experience, loved Katie Stone, my coach there, a great influential figure in my life. But having, again, I just think about what I learned as a person, not just as an athlete, from both Choate and Harvard, and how that really set me up, I think, for not success, but the right mindset to kind of approach sports, approach business, and approach kind of the world more broadly speaking than, again, just always thinking of myself as an athlete, which I think a lot of elite athletes, unfortunately, have too many people around them saying, I am the prize, stay focused, and they don't actually get to see what else is out there. They don't know who they are. They don't, get exposure to other cultures. And again, education helped me see all that.
That's tremendous. I mean, it's one of the things that we love to talk about on our 76 Capital Leadership Series is really the mindset and the traits that it really takes to be successful, and the similar traits that it takes to be successful, in sports as well as in business, and how many of those personality traits and transfer over from one to the other. We talk about the desire, the drive, the persistence. I mean, to be able to, those are all things that you need as an entrepreneur, as a business person, and that you also need, to be successful in whatever sport it is.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I advocate for all boys, all girls, globally. Like, sport is a human right. We learn about ourselves. We learn how to work through conflict management. We learn about goal setting. You learn how to achieve success, but also how to fail gracefully, and how do you pick yourself up and learn from that experience. To me, it's the best test bed of life lessons that, again, are hard to create in the classroom, but you can certainly create life lessons on the field, on the ice, and in a safe environment. It's okay to fail in sports, and you can teach you can teach so many things. So yes, we apply it now to business, but in generally speaking, it's just how do we give kids the exposure, and again, find those coaches that aren't just focused on the performance, but are also teaching you life lessons along the way. Because ultimately that's, what I love about being an athlete, and love, why I want my boys to then go and play sports.
You mentioned earlier about, you mentioned your coach at Harvard. You actually, while you were, I understand you also won the kind of the Heisman of hockey, the Patty Kazmaier Award as well when you were at Harvard. I mean, was there a when you went to Harvard as a freshman, were there any juniors or seniors or any people on the team that kind of helped to? I mean, you won a national championship that year. I mean, was there anyone on that team that you kind of looked up to that really helped you get into the whole college sports realm?
Yeah. No, I loved my teammates. One of my teammates, Kate Shutt, she took 2 years off to go to Bentley for music. When she came back, she lost her eligibility. So she was like a assistant coach, if you will, sort of a grad, not a grad. She was finishing up her senior year, couldn't play because of eligibility. She took 2 years off, but just, again, had that like more broad perspective in life. And I valued the conversations we had on the bus, and just kind of helped me grow up to an extent. Sally Maloney, Kim McManama, Claudia Sano, some of the names from the team that were juniors and seniors. And again, really created the right atmosphere for the team. I think so much of success of any teams is the culture that's created. And some of that can come from the top, from the coach, but it has to be adopted and implemented, and in some case created by the players themselves. And those, some of those athletes that I'd mentioned, just created an amazing team. And at the end of the day, I played on successful teams and ones that failed. And, those seniors, certainly juniors and seniors, were pivotal in helping me grow up, helping me understand, what it takes to be successful. And just at the end of the day, like, they care. You'll go out on a limb for people that you trust and you care and know that have your back. And it's very different than something, at the elite level, it's like to perform. At the collegiate level, it's to perform, but there's almost like you're growing up at the same time, you're the same age, whereas the national team, the Olympic team, you're different ages, different parts of the country. You may have different mindsets, if you will, and there's something about going through university together, which I love.
That's really cool. And I love how you mentioned Kate. I mean, the Delaware connection right there with her is great. And, as you know, I grew up with her brother Porter, and
Yep.
and her dad was our little league coach with my dad back in the day.
Yep.
So
it was great. It's one of my favorites. So even to this day, I'm like, hey, I need your advice.
So now I got to call Porter. You made me think about that. So
there you go. Go tell him I said hi.
I will, absolutely. And I think it's great. Also, you mentioned your time as an Olympian, 4 times in the Olympics. I mean, that's amazing. I mean, are there a couple moments that you can sort of share that were just you'll never forget, and were incredible times that you had?
Yeah, I mean, I always talk about the gold medal because there's nothing better than winning a gold medal. It was my first Olympics. It was in '98. It was the first time women's hockey was in the Olympics. I'm there on the far left. Amazing experience. Again, coming together as a team. We weren't supposed to win these Olympics either. Canada was the favorite going into those games. But just the experience that I drew, the sisterhood that, with all those women, and seeing your flag being raised, hearing your national anthem, you get chills to this day. You can't mimic it anywhere else. You can't mimic it. And you always remember what it felt like. And tried to do that again. Again, I played more games than any other man or woman in a USA Hockey jersey, which I'm super proud of, from like just that you get to represent your country. But I didn't get to stand on top of the podium at the Olympics. Now, we did win 4 of the World Championships when I was playing. One that no one's ever heard of is the 2008 Worlds in Harbin, China. No one was there. But again,
why was that? When you say no one was there,
Harbin, China. Have you ever been there? It's freaking cold. It's far. Hockey isn't very popular in China, although they want it to be. And it, maybe the Beijing Olympics will bring us there. But we were definitely the underdog. There's something about winning when you're not supposed to win. It's like so beautiful, and you remember as an athlete. And we had lost to Finland. We basically were in an elimination situation. We had to beat Canada twice. And we walked away with the gold, and, just, it was all mindset. It wasn't even our team. We had a bunch of rookies and we came together. So I love those kinds of examples of, again, what's possible with a team when you come together. And it's always great to win when you're the favorites. But in 2002, we were the favorites. We were 22-0, 33-0 that year, and lost in the final to Canada. Yes, we won a gold medal or silver medal. I'm very proud of that. But the expectations, the pressure, it was just like a kind of a different kind of experience for me. So that's the 2005 Worlds, first ever Worlds that we won. We took home. Again, Canada, it's kind of in their blood, but we finally brought a gold medal home. And I Cami Granato in the middle, one of my all-time favorites on Team USA, legend. In her own right, a fellow Hockey Hall of Fame member as well.
Amazing. I mean, when you were playing, all over the world, it must have been amazing the kinds of relationships that you were able to, create with not only your own teammates, but meeting other players from other teams. Is that something that something that happened? We were able to develop relationships with people now, and kind of really has kind of widened your overall network from a business perspective, even today.
Yeah. You make, I don't know if you make friendships, but you get to know some of the players constantly being on the road. I actually was roommates with one of the youngest Olympian on the Canadian team in '98, Jen Bottrell. We became good friends at Harvard, and we were roommates. And then we went, we'd get on the same plane, go to the same city, play in the World Championships against each other. So, we had a nice rivalry, and it pushed us on the ice when we were training at Harvard. But, when you're at the Olympics, the Olympic Village, where everyone has their respective gear on from their countries, and you get to make friendships from athletes from all over the world, all different sports. I spent 8 years on the International Olympic Committee, so I got to not only participate as an athlete, but then be on the administrative side and support athletes from, again, not just winter, but summer games. And, that is one of the hallmarks of the Olympics, is that you're going to make friendships, you're going to trade pins or gear, have a conversation. It's going to broaden your horizons and, again, change the world. At the end of the day, like, sport has that power to do that. And yeah, so I had some hockey teammates, but what I love, again, through my Olympics experience is, it wasn't just hockey. It wasn't just North America. It was global. It was global Olympic athletes.
It's phenomenal. Were there any specific cities or that you just really you never thought, well, you mentioned China, that you never would ever probably go back to that one city, but is there a place in the world that you were able to visit and play in that that was just amazing, that you're so happy that you were able to get that opportunity because of sports?
Yeah. China, obviously you can't underestimate, like, it's an emerging global power. The people there are very different. The culture is very different. We played there, I think, 3 times in my career. Playing in Canada, yeah, it's across the border. It's fairly close. My family actually lives in Michigan now, so it's literally a quick drive. But they love hockey, so I always loved being in Canada because, you're like a superstar, like basketball or football down here. You're a hockey player, and I lived in Montreal for a little bit. But we traveled all over. I mean, Switzerland, we played. We were sort of obviously limited to the typical hockey regions. But through my IOC work, I got to travel to Africa. I got to travel to South America, and really see the world, through those different organizations as well.
Amazing. So, so how did you end up transitioning from the ice to business? How did that happen? What was that moment?
Yeah, I mean, again, I mentioned before, I always knew I wasn't just a hockey player. I was always trying to search for what gave me the same passion and excitement, because it's easy to show up to work when you love what you do. It's easy to show up to the rink and be first on, last off, because I knew I was a hockey player. I dressed up as a hockey player in the 2nd grade for career day. Like, I just knew I wanted to be a hockey player. So that was my first career. And what's my second career? What is Angela Ruggiero after hockey? And the whole world knows me as a hockey player and, Hall of Famer. I was exploring that as I was playing. I went back to school. I got my master's at University of Minnesota. I actually went back to Harvard Business School right when I retired. I was trying to figure it out. And one thing that really attracted me, I saw that sports industry changing overnight because of technology, and having this amazing vantage point on the executive board of the IOC, or, working with the LA 2028 Olympics, and all my work, either volunteer work or, my job, it led me to, like, tech is changing everything. And why doesn't anyone have their finger on the pulse? Why don't we, as an industry, think about what's the future going to look like? How do we engage fans? How do we support athletes? How are we using this to better support our partners, our sponsors, and our broadcast partners, et cetera, et cetera? And so it's kind of a random path. People look at my resume and they're like, how did you end up there? But it was more, I noticed there was a massive problem to be solved. I noticed there was a need in the market, and it genuinely excited me about what technology can do for our space in an industry that I obviously have a passion for and love, and changed my life. How could I give back through a service that I believe was desperately needed? So that's kind of how I found Sports Innovation Lab. But yeah, I was thinking about it when I was playing. I was trying to talk to people, have coffees, all the things that I tell athletes or just young people in general, like, never turn your curiosity off, never turn down an opportunity to speak to someone that you look up to, because all those conversations and those things that you're reading and thinking about, understand when your interests are, when your interest and your passion is sort of you're more interested in those conversations, and that might guide you in a certain direction or against a certain direction.
Yeah, really, really interesting. And one of the things, Angela, I really wanted to talk with you about was like what, specifically some of the things that you're doing right at the Sports Innovation Lab. And, I think it's great to, see the things you're doing with, we could talk about sort of what you coined this phrase, the fluid fan, and what that really means. You're doing the Fluid Fan podcast, the Ask Me Anything type things that you're doing. I mean, it's really exciting to see all the things that you're doing, but maybe we just, before we get into the, specifically from a podcast perspective, but maybe talk about what you mean by the fluid fan and why you think that's such an important concept, people need to understand today.
Yeah. So first of all, Sports Innovation Lab we're a market research strategy company. We help sports brands create breakthrough fan experiences through technology. So we start there with the fan. You have to know who your consumer is. You have to know what fans look like. Then you can append technology to that to drive the behaviors you want, to support them, to engage them in all these different ways. That's all. Technology is the means. It's not the end, right? So you got to start with like understanding your consumer, which I don't think we do well in the sports industry. So we took a step back and said, fans look very different. Everyone keeps trying to target them. Oh, it's a millennial. It's a demographic. We're like, no. We're all fluid fans. Even the most diehard fan, they exist and they're not going away, but they're fluid in the way that we consume anything. Consumers are fluid, right? So the idea of a fluid fan, which we coined last year, and you can read all of this on our website, sportsilab.com, download the reports. They're open to change, meaning like they may be interested in your sport or your product one day, but they're flippant in a way. They're fickle. They're empowered to choose. You've given them different platforms to be consumers of now baseball, now football, now hockey, now the Premier League. And they're constantly evolving. The second you think you know them, they change because technology changes. And when we think about why this is so important to our industry, is the old way of doing business, you depended on that diehard fan. They were your main stream of revenue, and you got money from tickets, you got money from sponsorship, you got money from media, it was like merchandise, F&B, that was it. Well, these new consumers, they're on second screens, they're doing things differently, that you don't really understand them. So it's not just like their appetite for sports kind of is more fickle in and out. It's also the way that you engage them and appeal to what they want, right? I love Netflix personalization engine. I love that Amazon, I can buy something, it's bad, I see my credit card every month. Like I just punch two buttons and I get whatever I want at my fingertips. We are seeing it outside of sports. We're seeing the young people, oh, they don't have an attention span. Yes, they do. Have you ever seen them watch Fortnite or play Fortnite? It's because your content sucks that they're not engaging with you long term. So we broke apart like the fan through the fluid fan research that we do, and then we try to apply the technology in the ways that you might think about a different approach to the market through some of our reports that we released on our website.
So let me just guess, Angela, during this crazy pandemic that we're all living through right now, and sports is being played in empty arenas, and all those revenue streams that you just talked about that most teams and leagues had are not there anymore. So I guess you've been a little busy. People probably want to talk to you now.
Yeah, our phone's ringing off the hook, which is great. It's obviously, I can't underscore, who wants to be in a pandemic and all the human casualties? Like I just can't believe, we're living in this world right now. But with that being said, we've been doing this research for 4+ years, building the back end technology that helps us see what the market's doing. If we can put that to good use now, especially as the industry is hurting, as revenue is drying up, as partnerships are, being restructured, as we're all, in a way, giving everyone an opportunity to rethink their business. Yes, out of necessity, but 2 out of opportunity, right? You may have had an idea you may be a leader in the space and wanted to do things differently or invest in a new product or service that would, help you engage with your fan, enable them to do something, but you couldn't pre-COVID. And COVID again is in a way forcing the hand to innovation, but also opening the opportunity to just have these conversations. Like, what does your organization want to be? How can we think about not just the short-term fix, but the longer-term strategy to actually appease, again, these fluid fans that we may have already seen a decline pre-COVID, but when we come back, we want to be stronger than ever. We want to figure out a way for them to engage with us, our athletes, our property, etc. So our phone lines have been busy, or not my phone, my Zoom and all the other conference calls and video conference has been fatigued.
I think that's great to hear, though. It's great to hear, after, think unfortunately, as you said, the pandemic has been something that it really brought to light a lot of the technology and innovation that can really get fans more engaged today and do some really next generation things, which have been around. A lot of these things are not just being created right now. There's certainly some new things that are happening.
Totally. Yeah. And you guys probably see a lot of that. I mean, it's like when we've met in the past, we've been saying, oh, look, the diehard fan is dying, and look at cable subscriptions are going down, and linear TV is being supplemented by OTT, and all these. There's cracks in the foundation, but why change? Because look, we're still making a boatload of money, and valuations are going up, and rights fees are going up. So that's for someone else to figure out, which actually makes a lot of sense. Why we wouldn't change? But COVID again is that expose that crack in the foundation, and the old cliche, change or be changed. Like, we're being forced to change now. But to your point, Wayne, this tech isn't new. A lot of this, there are some new tech, especially on the COVID protocols and things. People are pivoting the use cases for some other tech, but a lot of the tech we've been recommending, like, it's already been there. It's like, do you have basic infrastructure in your venue? Well, if you do, then you can apply some of these technologies to keep people safe. If you don't, you're going to just need to lay the groundwork. Oh, and by the way, once that groundwork is laid for COVID applications, you can now do sports betting. You can now do some of the things that you want to do in the venue that you couldn't do before because it was too big of an investment. So there's like a short-term and a long-term opportunity here, I think, for the industry. And yeah, these technologies exist. We've been evaluating them for years. There's some good ones out there that hopefully properties are leaning, and the industry as a whole is leaning into.
I mean, you just think about, now we're in the fall, and it's the NFL's in full swing, and those parking lots that were filled with fans, not only people that had tickets, right? There were fans in the parking lots tailgating before those games, and then the ones with tickets would go in. But now you're an NFL team executive and owner, and you're like, oh my God, I wish I just knew who some of those people were. I would love to know, wait, there were so many people in the parking lot, but we only had so many seats. We had less seats in the stadium. Who are all these people? How do we reach them? How do we talk to them? And that's where a lot of the things that I know that you study and research and look at and test are things that we at 76 Capital will invest in as well. Those are the things we've been trying to sell that into these organizations. And now what's amazing is that there's interest. There's true, real interest in these types of technologies and companies and entrepreneurs that have new ideas. And that's the part that's really, I think, interesting. Now. It's really started to open up the entrepreneur's mind to look at what are some of the other ways that you can now engage with these beautiful games, whether it's hockey or football or basketball or whatever it is, and be able to, and as you said, esports and video games and these things. How will it all come together? And it's happening. It's happening during this time.
Yeah, it's exciting. Again, the soapbox we've been in, the research we've been writing, all the data and insights over the past 4 years, we're able to apply those now today in real time. We don't have to go and do a big study. We're just, hey, what do you need help with? Let's go. We've got the data. We've got the insight that we can apply. Applied research is how we really think about our business. and to your point of entrepreneurs, there's an openness to new ideas, new technologies, new solutions that, you know, I think pre-COVID, it was like, okay, you're a startup. Yeah, let's see if you can get a meeting on the books. And now I think there's just an appetite to just hear more from that startup ecosystem. Because again, everyone's thinking differently. And you know, our latest report, we talk about data-driven sponsorship. So we dropped that this week. And it's, look, don't tweak around the edges your sponsorship engine. Don't like just come up with a new tech category. Yes, we've heard about that. Or measurement. Yes, there's tech that's doing that. Why don't, to your point, if you don't know who your fan is, that's crazy to me. Like, why don't we know who our fans are? Why do we let everyone else in the world is data driven, and this industry is suddenly like, oh, I've got a CRM with some emails and some first names and maybe what ticket they bought. Like, why don't we know who our consumer is? Why don't we know more? Why don't we create more data driven partnerships, which is our whole report? Use your sponsorship as the best channel partner you could think of to create something together, collect data on those consumers, know those consumers, deliver some longitudinal support, as opposed to a point in time activation that goes away and you don't really know who those people are. So again, I think we're moving, you know, and have been advocating like you from a sports industry to a media and technology industry where we're an entertainment industry at the end of the day. Could we do it better than other forms of entertainment? Yes, I think we can. I mean, I'm bullish. That's why I'm here. But we have to start thinking like other forms of entertainment and be smart about how we approach these fluid fans, which are, again, fickle and hard to keep down and understand. And they're changing every day and they need more. We need to do more to service them. We can't just rely on the same old, and obviously, especially when they can't actually go to games. You have to entertain them at home. And that is the crack that's probably one of the biggest, Wayne, is, well, we've just been serving them that one size fits all linear feed, but they want to do something. They want to be engaged at home. They want to have agency. And why don't we have a Twitch-like platform? Why aren't we as an industry collectively thinking about a way to do this together? Because again, sports aren't going to go away. The diehards still going to be there, but I certainly see what younger people are doing, and they're cord nevers. They're, on their second screen all the time. Like, what can we do to give them that agency to appease, again, these more fluid, fickle fans? So there's my rant. I'm pessimistic, but optimistic at the same time.
Well, amen to all of that. And I'll tell you, what you just, you've been doing, great work also on your own podcast. Maybe we want to talk a little bit about that as we look to wrap up our 76 Capital Leadership Series. It's been amazing having you. I mean, your Hall of Fame career on the ice, winning all these, gold medal and world championships and Hall of Fame. I mean,
that's my Hall of Fame ring there. I don't know if you get a little zoom. The thing is big, and they, usually they get, there you go, I like that. Usually, you get a women's ring. I got the men's cut. Thing is, because I'm like, I want the small apple for my hand when I decide to wear this thing. No, that was fun. That to play in the Hall of Fame game and be with all the legendary hockey players for life. We get to go back every year and cheer the next class on, and have a few drinks and just celebrate the hockey community. And you get your nice little plaque in the background. So if anyone's in Toronto, try to find me on the wall there in the Hall of Fame. It's cool. Well, cool spot.
I love this picture with you and Chris Pronger. We just had Chris on as a guest recently, and on our 76 Capital Leadership Series, and he's a hell of a guy. And was this the same? Were you guys in the same class?
We were in the same class, yeah. Yeah, a lot of defensemen. Nick Lindstrom, we got Phil Housley, Sergei Fedorov, who actually Fedorov played defense for one season, I think, when he was with Detroit. And then you got a couple builders. But, yeah, we had basically a class of defensemen. And Chris is huge. You can see him. He's a big dude. Nice guy, though. Really nice guy.
Really, really nice guy. Very smart. Doing some really exciting things right now.
Did you show the picture of him checking Justin Bieber at the 20? Look this up. The 2017 NHL All-Star game. I skated in it. in LA, and Pronger was on my team, and Justin Bieber was playing on the other team, and everyone's trying to get me to check Bieber. And I'm like, you know what? If I do that, it'll be all over TMZ. Why don't you do it? And so he's like, okay. Just plastered him against. I mean, it was all in good fun, but there's like this classic photo out there of it.
Well, I'll tell you something. My producer James, there's no doubt.
Oh, there it is.
He was going to find it, and there it is.
Maniacal. Look at his maniacal laugh. Pronger is funny, and Bieber. I don't know if he's smiling or if he's like, "Ow!" You can just see his eyes there, but yeah. Anyway, I love
His helmet's a little bit off to the side. I'm not so sure he's loving that.
It's really what the. Who is this guy?
Well, tell us a little bit about your podcast. Love to hear about it.
Yeah, so it's called the Fluid Fan Podcast, and we break down basically the fluid fan through the lens of practitioners. So I interview anyone from brands to properties to the technology vendors to anyone in the ecosystem, agencies, investors that are thinking about what innovation looks like and how to better service the fluid fan. So it's for industry professionals in sports media and entertainment that want to better understand our research through the lens of not just me, but the practitioners that are doing it each and every day.
That's awesome. Well, we sure to make sure that
thanks for the shout out.
Absolutely. We want to make sure all of our viewers and listeners make sure that they subscribe to your podcast and become clients and fans of everything that you do at the Sports Innovation Lab. And again, it's been great seeing you. I'm so happy to see that you're doing well. Don't let your boys play too much with your ring. Maybe play around with it a little bit, but it's awesome. Congratulations on an incredible career. I'm so excited for all the things that you're doing now, and hopefully we'll get a chance to do some work together in the future. That's what it's all about.
I love it, Wayne. Good luck in your leadership series. Great to provide this platform for everyone out there to hear from the industry. So thanks for what you do as well.
Absolutely. Hockey Hall of Famer, incredible show. Thanks so much, Angela, for joining us. And you can watch our 76 Capital Leadership Series on our podcasts. Follow us on all the different social media networks out there: LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Follow us at 76 Capital. Follow Angela. Don't forget to follow Angela it's Angela Ruggiero. There it is right there on the screen. If you're watching, and if not, it's Angela, and then last name Ruggiero. Follow her on Twitter. Great follow. Again, it's been great having you on the show. Really appreciate it, and hope you have a great day.
Thanks, Wayne.